This is immigration lawyer Jim Hacking, and this is the latest immigration news. In our first story, the United Nations declares the U.S. border one of the world's deadliest borders. A recent UN study shows the 2,000-mile border between the U.S. and Mexico is the world's deadliest land migration route. More than 728 migrants have died or disappeared there in the last year. That's an increase of more than 50% since 2020. The crisis at the border was highlighted last month by the deaths of 46 immigrants in the back of a truck near San Antonio, Texas. Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, blamed the tragedy on President Joe Biden's open border policies and his refusal to enforce the law. Greg Abbott is a noted hater of immigrants, and so his comments are not surprising. According to the International Organization for Migration, around half of those who died or disappeared throughout the Americas in 2021 remain unidentified. Of those who could be identified, Mexicans made up the largest proportion, followed by Guatemalans and Venezuelans. Next up, the TPS Travel Policy Memorandum. A new policy means that thousands of TPS holders may be newly eligible to apply for a green card if they have a qualifying relative. TPS is temporary protected status, and it allows people who are in the United States to remain here safely and to not face deportation. USCIS will no longer use the advanced parole mechanism to authorize travel for TPS beneficiaries, but will instead provide a new TPS travel authorization document, Form I-512T, which is the authorization for travel by a non-citizen to the United States. TPS beneficiaries with existing unexpired advanced parole documents may continue to use it for travel. Our third story is DHS announces the extension of TPS for Venezuelans. The Department of Homeland Security has announced an 18-month extension of temporary protective status, TPS, for the country of Venezuela, which will be effective from September 10th, 2022 through March 10th, 2024. Venezuelan TPS beneficiaries will need to re-register to extend their status and their work authorization. DHS is expected to announce the re-registration period and issue application instructions in the very near future. Only beneficiaries under Venezuela's existing designation who are residing in the United States as of March 8, 2021, are eligible to re-register for TPS under this extension. Venezuelans who arrived in the United States after March 8, 2021, are not eligible for TPS. The extension of TPS for Venezuela means that beneficiaries who submit a timely re-registration may continue to work and remain in the United States through at least March 10, 2024. Prior to the conclusion of the 18-month extension, the DHS Secretary will review conditions in Venezuela to again determine whether its TPS designation should be extended or ended. Next up, the Supreme Court allows President Joe Biden to end the Remain in Mexico policy. The U.S. Supreme Court will allow President Biden to finally end the Trump-era Remain in Mexico policy. This is a major victory for the Biden administration, allowing it to follow through on one of the president's clearest campaign promises on immigration. However, the court is also sending the case back to a lower court to consider one of the Biden administration's attempts at ending the program. The policy, which is formally known as the Migrant Protection Protocols, or MPP, was initially implemented under President Trump and has forced tens of thousands of asylum seekers to wait out lengthy U.S. immigration court processes inside Mexico. Roughly 70,000 immigrants were impacted under the Trump administration by the MPP policy. Since December of last year, immigration agents have arrested more than 1 million people at the border. Only about 4,000 of them have been placed in MPP. Most of the rest have been expelled under Title 42, which has been responsible for nearly 2 million expulsions since it went into effect in 2020. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed a bill which cracks down on immigration in Florida. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Republican, signed legislation on Friday that mandates law enforcement agencies in the state overseeing county detention facilities to work with the Immigration and Customs Enforcement to enforce immigration laws. Most people don't understand that states and counties make their own agreements with ICE as far as whether or not to enforce ICE detainers and to work with the agency to deport immigrants. The new Florida rule also makes it illegal for a government entity to contract with a carrier company if that business is, quote, willfully providing any service in furtherance of transportation of people to whom they know are undocumented in the U.S. unless it is for deportation or detention purposes. And finally, California is set to become the first state to provide free health care to all low-income immigrants. California will become the first state to guarantee free health care for all, including low-income immigrants living in the country without authorization. California pledges to make low-income adults eligible for the state's Medicaid program by 2024, regardless of their immigration status. Nationwide, federal and state governments join together to give free health care to low-income adults and children through Medicaid. But the federal government won't pay for people who are living in the country illegally. Some states, including California, have used their own tax dollars to cover a portion of healthcare expenses for some low-income immigrants. A poll conducted by the Public Policy Institute of California in March found that 66% of Californians supported offering health coverage to undocumented immigrants. This is up from 54% in 2015, the last time the question was asked. Though the budget won't be finalized for months and opponents of the plan have already begun speaking out, many advocates say they're hopeful that the rule will take place. And that's the news that you need to know about immigration. Thanks for watching.